This is the Microsoft Lumia 950. On paper, it has everything you'd want in a high-end phone. A high-resolution screen, a hex-core processor, and a 20-megapixel PureView camera. It also showcases Microsoft's new mobile OS, Windows 10 Mobile. The 5.2-inch 2K AMOLED screen is stunning, if not a little excessive. The pixel density is ridiculous, so even the smallest of text appears sharp. Colors might be a little plain out of the box, but as with previous Lumias, the color profile can be easily changed. However, I can't tell much of a difference between this screen and the 1080p screen of the Lumia 930. And glance screen is back, but now the latest Lumia is missing double tap to wake. Inside the Lumia 950 is a 1.8 GHz Snapdragon 808 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, and 32 gigs of storage with the option to expand it. Performance is fast and fluid. Battery life is great and lasts all day for me with moderate usage. But even if you do something that tanks the battery, the 950 supports USB-C fast charging. I've gone from a dead phone to 30% in about 15 minutes, and then 80% in less than 2 hours. Follow-up to the Lumia 930 is once again packing a 20 megapixel PureView camera, but don't let that fool you. The 950's camera has a significantly larger aperture and a slightly bigger sensor. That, combined with software changes, means that photos taken with the Lumia 950 when compared to its predecessor provide a greater dynamic range, a better depth of field, as well as sharper and more saturated pictures. Compared to the well-received LG G4, photos appear sharper. However, the Lumia at times suffers from a slight yellow tint after post-processing. This problem is somewhat alleviated by the 950's ability to once again capture in RAW alongside the oversampled JPEG image. Where the Lumia 950's camera significantly differentiates itself from previous Lumias is nighttime photography. With that better sensor, the 950 takes in about as much light as the 925, but the images are of course much sharper. And compared to the G4, low light shots seem to be a little better on the 950. The 950 can now shoot longer 4K videos as well as slow motion videos. And once again, with optical image stabilization and 4 microphones, videos shot on the 950 are phenomenal. The Lumia 950 might not seem like it has so much great hardware though, as the design of it is uninspiring. While this is the first high-end Lumia from Microsoft, this is likely a final holdover design from the Nokia era. That's surprising given the beautiful designs of previous phones. The 950 is basically just a 640 when it comes to looks. The build quality isn't as good as previous Lumias either. I managed to get a small crack at the edge of the glass and I never even dropped it. I have dropped my previous 900 class Lumias multiple times and barely even scratched them. My 930 took a fall and got a similar crack in the glass, but that was after bouncing out of my truck and then hitting the concrete. Hardware is only half the story though with the Lumia 950, which is running Microsoft's latest mobile operating system, Windows 10 Mobile. The name change from Windows Phone back to Windows Mobile is fitting as the new OS is tightly integrated with its desktop counterpart. This is also the biggest UI update to the mobile version of Windows since the introduction of live tiles in 2010. The start screen has been spruced up now with transparent live tiles and full background wallpapers. The Action Center and notifications have been improved, with the key update being actionable notifications. All of the core apps have been updated and will be familiar to anyone that has used them in Windows 10 on the desktop. In fact, thanks to the new Universal Windows Apps platform, they're the same apps and have just been scaled to the smaller screen size of a smartphone. Outlook Mail and Settings, both of which have been updated for the first time in 5 years, are really nice now. Checking email on my phone doesn't feel like as much of a chore anymore, and settings are much easier to find now. I really like the new Xbox app. It's easy to see what my friends are up to, watch gameplay clips, and send them messages. Also, the new Groove Music app is surprisingly nice. However, one new app I do find issue with is Maps. It still uses HERE data, which has always been fine for me, but my problem with it is the user interface. The UI is so small, it's impossible to see while driving. Maps is also missing great features from HERE Drive, like My Commute. So while Maps is still functional and likely fine for most people, overall I feel it's a step backwards compared to the HERE suite. Thankfully, those apps are still available. There are 2 features of the Lumia 950 you won't find on any Android phone, or the latest from Apple. Rather than including a fingerprint reader like other high-end smartphones, Microsoft has instead opted to look at your eyes with an infrared iris scanner. Once the Windows Hello biometric security system recognizes you, the phone will unlock. While at first this seems really cool, in practice it's too slow and doesn't recognize me 100% of the time, not unlike fingerprint sensors when they were first introduced. The iris scanner does work if you have glasses and even works through sunglasses, but it functions noticeably better if you're wearing neither. The Lumia 950 also supports Continuum. This is a feature of Windows 10 where the OS transforms based on the screen size and inputs of a device. When the 950 is plugged into a special dock or connected to a wireless display, you can use a desktop interface. Remember when I said the apps on the phone are actually the same ones you used on the desktop? That becomes readily apparent in Continuum when you open Outlook Mail, for example, and you get the expanded view. Or if you open any of the various Office apps, you get a ribbon at the top. And you can still use your phone while in this mode. Now, this feature does come with the caveat that you can only use the apps on your phone that support Continuum, so you won't be able to use Photoshop this way anytime soon. The feature is cool and it actually kinda works, at least over a wired connection. I personally believe that this is the future of computing, but right now, Continuum with the Lumia 950 has limited usefulness, and I can't see the average person ever using it. And as a whole, that's what the Lumia 950 feels like, a work in progress. Sure, it's technically better than any previous Lumia, and Windows 10 brought with it a great UI refresh, but it's not a giant leap over to Lumia 930, and is even a step backwards in some ways. And of course, the app situation hasn't gotten any better. So all of that, combined with the fact that Android manufacturers are finally making really good hardware across the board, it's hard to recommend the Lumia 950 to anyone other than the most diehard of Microsoft fans.